So the meeting of the Charter Review Committee is called to order. It doesn't look like we have any minutes. I think we must have approved the only ones we had last time. Or Katie, should we have minutes?
So Deborah's actually the liaison for this, and she's the one working on the minutes, so I'll let her answer that.
Okay.
Right. So, and Councilmember Coombs, Councilmember Marcano just walked into his office. He will be joining us. As far as the minutes go, they have all been signed and they are all posted on the website. Thank you to Katie for that guidance. And they were all approved by the former chair.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure if the last meeting we had, if that counted as a meeting. It was a little bit of a weird situation. So
well, we
do
weird and we have that weird approved. So we're good.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad that, oh, right. It wasn't a meeting, it was emails. Sorry, I'm now realizing. I'm like, we had some other discussion about this committee, but it was all in email. So we don't need minutes of our emails. Thank goodness. Okay, thank you for that. So we do not have minutes to approve. So we have one new item, which is a presentation on public hearings, which is Councilmember Lawson is the sponsor and Katie is the staff presenter.
So Councilmember Chair Coombs, do you want me to kind of just, I know Katie has the slide up, but the reason I kind of wanted to bring this forward, just a little bit of briefing for the public. Okay, the reason I wanted to bring that we have actually a public hearing is because we've actually changed, did some recommendations from the charter. And I think that the community input, however that's selected, would be really good to, you know, to kind of evaluate these recommendations, provide thoughts, and maybe even give us some recommendations. And I think that's going to be really important as we present these to the full council to have that information from the community, which I think should be very, very, it's very important, I know, to me and to many others. So Katie, I'm glad that you brought this forward of how this may look. And I'm hoping that the committee will think about maybe setting up a future date for us to do this. And I have some questions on how we're going to do it, but I guess Katie could go through the presentation first. So that's just a little bit of explanation, Councilmember Coombs.
Great, thank you. So yeah, Katie, if you want to go ahead and present, and then I guess we'll kind of talk about filling in all of the highlighted areas.
Yep. So like you said, I just want to go through this so you guys can give direction on how you want the public hearings to go. So I guess the first item would be, and I believe this is probably in the ordinance, or you didn't get it created by ordinance, but of how you were created. But the purpose of the feedback requested, you know, will be to, and then if you guys want to brainstorm some ideas of what you want to kind of tell the public, that also helps our communication department when we're doing outreach. And then at the conclusion of the public hearings, the ad hoc committee, along with relevant city staff, will. And I guess this is just asking, after you have the public hearings, is that when you want the citizens ad hoc committee to review all of the information? What would you like to have happen at the end of the public hearings? And then for the actual hearings, we just need to set a few dates and times and figure out if we want them to be all in person, virtual, hybrid, and the meeting logistics. So if you want to start with the summary and then the meeting dates, we can go into the actual meeting format or however you'd like to approach this.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and start with the summary, then do, like, we'll go section by section. That way we can get whatever feedback people have. So what feedback does everyone have about the purpose of the public hearings? Councilmember Lawson, do you want to go?
Let me kind of think through. Let me just.
Okay, sure. So I think I'll start a little bit unless anybody else would like to go first. Just, I think we want to get broad feedback from the community on
Y'all hear me?
proposed charter changes. Now I can hear you. I did not hear you before.
I'm so sorry.
So that would be my kind of basic thought on what we were trying to get. Councilmember Marcano, did you want to add?
Yeah, I was thinking that it could be something along the lines of soliciting feedback from the community on the council proposed changes, and also to hear proposals from community on charter changes that they'd like to have us consider. Because my recollection was that this was meant to be a two-way street, so we can have them get feedback on what we've already proposed through the committee, and also hear what our residents might be wanting us to consider that perhaps we have not yet.
And then Councilmember Marcano and Councilmember Coombs. Okay, I agree with that. So would this be kind of maybe 2 hearings possibly? And I know we're going to get to that, because I definitely think that there's going to be a lot of conversation from the community possibly on these recommendations. So me personally, I think there will be. I think there will be. And then I'm wondering about the second one. Are we trying to say that would be inclusive into the first one, or would that be kind of 2 hearings?
And if I can just jump in a little bit, that was a main question as well that I was going to get to. So during the meeting format, did you want individuals to sign up just to speak on your specific proposals, or also to be able to give proposals? Another option to give their own proposal would be if we used Engage Aurora. They used it for the Red Tape Committee, and we used it for redistricting. So we could have questions on each specific amendment that council's proposing, and then maybe just a blank question of, is there anything you would like to see changed? So I don't know if you want to incorporate that into the public hearing process or their proposals into the Engage Aurora.
Any thoughts from anybody on that?
Well, I kind of like that idea, because I think the proposals, how many do we have? I think we have like, what, 6 or something like that? I'm not sure. Maybe
Yeah, and then I'm going to be bringing another one as well on just gendered language.
okay.
So making gender neutral language within the charter, which will be kind of more of a comprehensive thing.
So with those proposals that we brought forth, and they're pretty extensive, I think they'll get a lot of comment. I think that we probably should, my thought was do what Katie was saying about putting the other possible proposals into Engage Aurora, and let's have these discussions for the hearing that we brought forth in the recommendations.
Oh, I'm muted. I think it might be good to do like to have that kind of Engage Aurora survey period. And then the public hearing, because then we can put the survey information in the backup.
Okay.
And that way people kind of have some frame of reference to work from on responding to those proposals. I think that would make it more productive probably than just putting the proposals in the backup, because it gives people a little more time to think about it. And we have a little bit of, again, feedback from people as we're going into it. I do think it would be good to have 2, like the one where we're just responding to that feedback, and then a separate one where we take whatever extra proposals were kind of added in through Engage Aurora, like anything else you think we should look at, and then also any other comments that people might bring to the public hearing of items they think should be considered, and then we could kind of get some backup on those things, the proposals that people said, oh, this is stuff we want you to think about, and then have feedback on those in the second public hearing.
Okay, and then I have a question too, or maybe a comment as well. In the one where we're actually having our proposals, so I agree with you, Councilmember Coombs, maybe is there possible, Katie, and I don't know how much work this would be, is to link the minutes to those discussions. Somewhere in, if someone is looking at this, I don't know, have it as a backup, because I know we have all the minutes listed, but I think people, it might be having it to have as a close reference of what was those discussions. What was discussed and talked about. I think that would be kind of important to add, in my opinion, as well. I don't know how we would do it as a link for electronic, but also maybe have some stuff in the backup. I'm not sure, but just some thoughts on that as well from the committee.
Yeah, and we can include the link to, there's actually a webpage for the Charter Ad Hoc Committee, and it has the agendas, minutes. We'll put the Engage Aurora link on there. And then if you would like us to post maybe an agenda packet for the public hearings with those minutes in it regarding the items that you're going to be discussing. That could be an option.
Councilmember Marcano, I think I might have cut you off and I apologize if I did.
Oh,
So,
that's okay. Actually, Councilmember Coombs touched on what I wanted to add, so I won't belabor the point. But I
Okay.
think we're all on the same page in terms of hearing, or I'm sorry, in terms of structure and how we want to have the meeting split.
Great. So any other comments on the summary before we move on to the what staff and council will do portion of that? Okay, so then that's the next question is, what will staff and council do with the information we gain from the public hearing? Councilmember Marcano?
Yeah, I think that if we, if there's enough agreement, consensus between committee members during these hearings, we might obviously put together additional amendments for consideration based off of public feedback, or amend the ones that our council has submitted based off of public feedback as well. I think those are, two deliverables that are pretty fair to list, kind of are the purpose ultimately for getting public feedback.
yeah, and I guess for me too, I agree with you, Councilmember Marcano, but some of these I wanted to see, they do have a timeline if we're trying to get them on a 2023
Yes.
thing. I know the one that I'm wanted to, get on there or try, even though I'm not sure about the votes, but just to make sure it's out there. It does have a time frame when, when we're considering putting these initiatives. So I guess the feedback would be important too, but how we can get it to council sooner than later on certain ones, I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah.
important to me to get some thoughts on that, and regardless of what the vote's going to be, just to get it out there anyway.
That's a really good point, Councilmember Lawson. And Katie, this is one where I think we can lean on you a bit because we're working backwards basically from what, August 30th, I think is the deadline to get something on the ballot.
We actually would need to start sooner than that because we work on the IGAs with the counties in June and July to get them approved by August. So we would want to know what you want on the ballot, ideally in June. July, okay. We can probably still incorporate it, and we just have to make sure, looking at the council meetings, that you meet the two council meetings that need to be met.
Okay.
So we would want to try to do it by like the last, at least introduced by the last council meeting of June, or have second reading by the last council meeting in June. Or would this be a resolution? This is a city attorney question.
It's an ordinance.
Okay, the changing the chart, like proposals to the ballot, are ordinance, not resolution. Okay, right. So you would want us to have the second reading by the end of June, or could it be first reading end of June?
So we could do June 26th first reading, July 17th second reading. Or if you want to do a little earlier, June 12th first reading, June 26th second reading.
So why don't we shoot for that, just to make it easier as you guys are working with the counties on the IGAs. But then if for whatever reason there's a delay, that way we have a little buffer also.
Okay, so you want the first hearing or the first council meeting to be June 12th or 26th?
The 12th, just to give us the buffer, yeah.
So with that in mind, then, it seems to me we're February 7th today. We really want to get the public hearing started as soon as possible. So either end of February or beginning of March.
Well, remember, we're going on the lobbying trip.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, at the end of February, 28th through March.
Be a little tough.
Yeah.
Maybe second or third week of March then would probably be a little easier. And we want to have
maybe let's do second.
Say that again?
So let's do second week of March.
Yeah. And we want to do
then-
2 of these, so maybe one in March, one in April. That allows us to reconcile, make amendments, or even draft new proposals in May and then get them on the docket for June.
Yep. And then maybe we can do the charter ad hoc committee kind of starting also in March. That's kind of soon. Maybe do April, May, and June meetings for the citizen ad hoc committee. And that was going to be my miscellaneous item for consideration anyway, was just trying to help set those meetings.
So I have just a logistical question. When we're looking at June 12th, and I'm just looking at the calendar, and then June 26th for the second reading, do these need to go to the study session on the 5th, correct? Or are we taking these directly to the floor?
No, they would need to go to study session. So yeah, that would be June 5th.
Okay.
And we would have to have our May meeting of this committee, which we might want to not have in the first week of May, just because if we're having March and April, I mean, maybe that works actually. If we're having it the second week of April, then we could have backup and be ready to go through it the first week of May before it goes to council. I don't know what you all think of that. Of keeping our meeting the first week of the month if these meetings are going to be the second week of the month.
I think that's fine.
That'll
Okay.
work.
All right.
So just so we're all on the same page, so the council ad hoc committee, you want to meet, what was the date you said?
So it'd be the first Tuesday in May, and I think we're meeting first Tuesdays in general.
Okay.
So that's for the council ad hoc committee. So we'll meet the remaining first Tuesdays. So March, April, May, June. Maybe we don't have to meet in June, I guess, if we have stuff referred to study session. So just March, April, May.
The first Tuesday in May is May 2nd.
And then for the citizen ad hoc committee, we'll have to work with the clerk's office and the appointees to kind of figure out their meeting dates. But maybe if we could have those after the hearings, ideally. So maybe the third week of March, April, May. And that way, whatever proposals we make in our May 2nd meeting, then they could review before everything goes to study session.
Okay, and okay, so council
And I would
meeting
just like to
dates.
suggest, just a suggestion here for Katie. Because I know we stack our agendas for study session. This one may be about an hour or two, depending on what's going on. I just want to make sure that we have enough time and we're not rushed and we can have the debate and we can have the discussion and kind of do that. So, because I know we fill our study sessions sometimes, and I know some things we can't help, but I just want to make sure we have adequate time. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'll look a little bit more into this to see if I can find something that's more flexible. This is my initial thought about when this should be done, just because of coordinating with the 3 different counties and trying to get it on the ballot this year. But I'll see if there's some way we can push it back. But for right now, just to get stuff on the schedule, is everybody okay with what we have so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think this looks good. Obviously, we have to find out from the appointees to the citizen committee whether that works for them to do those third week of March, April, May or not.
And so in March, did you say the second Tuesday in March?
So that's our meeting.
I mean,
It's the second Tuesday. So For hearings, I think we said the second, or no, our meetings are the first Tuesday. Sorry. So yeah, what do you guys want to do Tuesday? Does it matter when we set these?
Do you mean for the hearing or for
For
what?
the hearing, yeah, for the hearing.
Well, I just want to let you know the second week in March, the 14th and 15th, I won't be here in town. So I just wanted to know maybe if we're going to do it, can it be the 16th or?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Well,
mean-
if I may, real quick, Councilmember Lawson, so the first Tuesday in March is the 7th.
Right. I thought we were talking about the hearing though. I was talking
Yeah.
about the hearing. You guys wanted to be the second week in March.
Oh, I misheard.
Yeah.
I thought Councilmember Coombs was saying the first Tuesday still to do.
Well, that's
and then the-
for us, but then for Councilmember Lawson to be able to attend the
Oh.
hearing, I think is the idea.
Yeah.
The 16th is fine for me, if that works for y'all. Is there any reason staff can think of why we wouldn't do a Thursday evening? Okay,
Works for me.
all right. Then yeah, let's go ahead and do that March 16th.
Thank
And
you
then
for
maybe
being
for-
accommodating. I appreciate it.
Of course,
What times are you thinking?
like 6:30 or 7.
Yeah, for the red tape committee, we kind of bounced around with the times and dates, and I feel like that might impact people's ability to attend. So I
Oh.
think if we can set like a consistent time, that would help.
Okay.
Did you guys
I
have the
mean-
red hot committees in the evening or were they during the day?
We had some during the day, some during the evening. Yeah,
I mean, I
I
do
got
think
the
it might
idea.
not be bad to have some different days of the week and different times just to catch different people.
Huh.
So that would be my only thought, is not necessarily have it during the day. I think that is generally not great for most people. But if we could do like one at 7 in the evening, on that'll be a Thursday, maybe we pick a different day, either a weekend or a different day of the week.
Yeah.
And have it a little earlier, maybe for people who work second shift and where 7 o'clock would be too late for them. Or I
Yeah,
guess
no,
third
I
shift,
really like the
second shift.
idea. I really like the idea of having one on the weekend.
Okay, so maybe the April one could be like on a Saturday.
Yeah, I can do one on the weekend. I think that would be good.
Okay.
Would that
one
be
thing
okay
on
for staff though? That's the thing.
Just a heads up, also, you do have a spring workshop in April.
Oh.
So you're going to have 2 Saturday meetings that month if you do
So
that.
that's the 29th. What do we want to do, the first one on a Saturday in March and then do the April one on a weeknight?
Could we do that maybe?
Yeah. That's fine with me. I don't have any conflicts that I see for the weekends in March. Actually, I think there is one thing that, no, it's on a Sunday, so that's fine. So yeah, maybe Saturday the 11th or Saturday the 18th of March.
Let's shoot for the 18th.
Okay,
I have a
18th of
question,
March. Yep,
Councilmember Coombs.
yeah. Ruben,
Is
what's up,
there
brother?
going to be a
Councilmember
specific
Medina.
location that these are going to be at? Just because I'm trying to look at, if you wanted us to reach out to specific populations, it might be more conducive to getting people from other groups to attend.
Probably council chambers, I would think, but if that's not ideal for getting folks to attend, then we could look at other locations.
And just for logistics to jump in, the council chambers would be the easiest place for us to do it if we wanted to do a hybrid meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think we should do.
Yes, I was going to advocate for hybrid, so yeah.
Okay, so Saturday the 18th, council chambers. Any specific times folks think would be good? Councilmember Medina, Councilmember Lawson.
I'm just trying to think. You're going to definitely catch people probably a little bit earlier than later in the afternoon because people
Mhm.
have things to do and, with kids, whatever is going on in their
Maybe
lives.
like 12 or 1 or
Councilmember Medina,
earlier.
what do you think?
I think earlier than that.
Yeah, me
myself,
too.
maybe
I'm
9 or
looking at a
10.
little
Okay.
earlier.
Like 11, because I don't want to do too early either. I don't know. Maybe there's not a too early as long as it's not.
Do you think 10 is reasonable?
Yeah,
10 or
probably.
11.
People go to a lot of 10 o'clock meetings on Saturdays, I think. So
Because it's kind of not too early, but it's kind of, early, but not too late. Do you
yeah,
think we'll get attendance at 10? I mean, I go to stuff at 10, which is reasonable.
yeah, I think that should be reasonable. I'm okay with 10. Any objection to 10?
Roll with 10.
Okay, we'll go with 10. And then
Alright.
in April, we'll do the second week in the evening during the week. So that would be anytime between the 11th and probably the 13th. We don't want to do a Friday night. So the 11th, 12th, or 13th. Maybe at like 7. Does anybody have any conflicts or thoughts on that?
My preference would be the 11th. The 13th is my Ward 4 meeting in April.
Oh, okay. Well, let's not do it at the same time as your meeting. Any other conflicts?
No, not for
Okay.
me.
So then why don't we say the 11th at 7 p.m.?
Sounds good.
Okay. And all of those in council chambers and hybrid. Does anyone have any objection to doing hybrid?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
And what time are we going to start that one you said it's going to be on the 11th, correct?
Yep, the 11th at 7 p.m.
At 7. Okay. Got it.
And I can send you guys this document when I'm done.
Okay,
Awesome.
great.
Thank you. Okay.
So for the meeting format, I just kind of went by what we do for public hearings during the council meetings. So we can have a short introduction either by the committee chair, staff, or the council member that put forward the proposal, however you want to do that. And they can just kind of present the analysis of the amendment, and then the public could speak. This is optional, just a idea.
I mean, I think the committee chair should, the person, because I think we all agree that we're going to have the public hearing. So it could just be a standard, however you want to pursue Councilmember Coombs on that.
I mean, I could chair the meeting, but if people who sponsored an item want to present, then, I think if people are passionate about something, I want to give them the opportunity to kind of speak about what they brought forward and why. So I can chair it, but then we can have the sponsors give a presentation and work with staff on any other backup or information you want them to have available.
Okay.
And then for public comment, I don't know if this is allowed to have it be a little less like constricted to the 3 minutes and formal, like if there's an opportunity for a little bit more back and forth, if that's something people would be interested in, kind of the way they do at planning and zoning, where members might ask a member of the public a clarifying question, and might give some additional feedback or information. Is that something A, that we can do, and B, that we would want to do?
I would be very amenable to that. That's something that I wanted us to change at our regular council meetings as well. I think as long as we make it so that basically any response from those of us acting as council members here have to be phrased as a question, so that you can kind of avoid, any potential, so, having someone feel like they might be being attacked, something like that. Just, to keep it cordial. But I do like that idea, especially since, this is a big deal, right? And I wanted to talk a little, this will probably be more germane under public outreach, but I want this to be advertised to our residents as basically like a, constitutional amendment for the city, right? Like that is what we're talking about here. So I'm hoping that we can reach a lot more people than we typically reach with our outreach process, and get folks to understand this is a really, really big deal. Our charter is 62 years old, 63 years old at this point. So this is the first time it's been like seriously looked at. So yeah.
So we could also do that speakers have 3 minutes, not including questions to the committee.
Okay, so like 3 minutes for comments, and then if the committee has questions, we'll allow the committee to ask those questions and have that exchange.
Yeah.
And we'll just, trust that people are gonna utilize that time in a thoughtful way, that we're not gonna be, badgering or anything along those lines. So yeah, I think that makes sense. Just 3 minutes, not including questions. Is there any objection to that approach of enabling the question and answer component?
No. And then
Okay.
Councilmember Coombs, just a question for you, when you kind of give the opening, are you going to I think it's going to be important to understand that people just aren't coming here just to kind of say wasting, like what Councilmember Marcano, it's a big deal, just to make sure like what the process and the next steps are going to be. Because there could be some more comments that they want to come to the full council about when we bring this forth. So I hope that that's going to be explained too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be happy to kind of walk through the entire process during the first hearing, the fact that there will be a second hearing, as well as kind of the process that'll happen with the council charter committee, the citizen charter committee, study session, council meetings. And then of course the process of having it on the ballot, and educating people about items that are going to be on the ballot. So I think that's a really good point. We definitely want to walk through that entire thing of this is everything we're doing, because public feedback is important, and also the decisions that we're making are very important.
Okay.
All right.
The next component of this is, I took this from the Red Tape Policy Committee, how they did their public hearings. They had speakers sign up in advance of the meeting, and they could attend in person, or we could provide them with a call-in number to make their comments. Is that something this committee would like to do? Or, did you want it to be like council where individuals could come without signing up in advance? This is just a little bit easier logistically if they do, but it's your decision.
I think we could take signups in advance and allow people to sign up day of, like sign up upon arriving.
Yeah, I'd prefer as low barrier as possible to hear from the public.
Yeah. So I think in the sign up in advance, make sure it's very clear. People may also choose to come and sign up during the meeting. And I think even if someone hears something, honestly, that strikes them, that makes them want to speak during the meeting, we don't have to say you need to sign up before the item is called. I know that can make it a little bit unwieldy and could make the meeting a bit long, but at the same time, again, we want to get the most feedback and the best feedback we can from the public. So I think we need to be somewhat flexible.
Yep.
I do think, though, each person gets one chance to speak, right? You don't like sign up in advance and then you hear something you want to come back and rebut, like not like that. Just if you hadn't signed up, if you came just to listen and then you want to sign up. And that part can be made clear in the meeting. Like once you've signed up and come up and had questions asked and answered, then that's your one time to speak during that particular meeting.
And I guess another logistical question would be, are you wanting to do this where we have each proposal separated so that every proposal will be a different item and people will speak? So you announce this is the proposal A, and then people will come talk about it. And then once they're all done, we go to B, right? Not everything at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. That looks unanimous. That we want every item separated out. Okay. Um,
And on the sign-in forms, sign-up forms, I'm just gonna put name, email, and the proposal they would like to address.
Yeah.
yep, I think that's good.
And so for public outreach, we do have communications on the line. I spoke with them about this. We can do engage Aurora. Like I said, we did with their red tape committee and with redistricting. We'll do a schedule of the public hearings. We can put the WebEx links to the public hearings on there, have a survey, and then the link to the Charter Ad Hoc Committee webpage. And then for social media, we'll post it out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of our social media accounts. And then communications will provide council with a social media post that you can share. And then, of course, on our webpage, we'll update the public hearing information. Is there any other outreach that you guys would like to see?
I mean, I don't know how we would do anything kind of not digital, but maybe a mailing, maybe maybe a postcard, or maybe something in the water bill. It might be too late for that actually at this point to get anything in the water bill. I just know that not everybody engages digitally. So maybe also like flyers that members of the civic engagement committee could take to the different groups that they're a part of, that council members could have at our ward meetings, things like that.
I would also suggest pitching this to local news networks in the metro. I know a lot of Aurorans don't get water bills, maybe don't follow the city on social media. So any way we can get this in front of people, I would just recommend that.
Yeah, I would also ask if you have a flyer, get that to me as well, and if those will be translated at least in Spanish for, if not, I can get them to other groups that I work with that have a variety of different ethnic groups that they work with, so I can probably pass it on to at least 4 or 5 that come to mind right now.
Yeah, I think flyers would be good. And those are good ideas. Katie, rec centers, golf courses, libraries, and then ward meetings, other community meetings that we might be in attendance at. And again, maybe have the Civic Engagement Commission have access to those and take those to the different places that they also go, the different groups that they're a part of.
And Michael Bryant's on the line, so I'm not really saying much because I'm going to let him take the lead because it's his area expertise.
Hi, council members. Michael Bryan, Public Relations Manager. Kim Stewart, our Communications Director, is on the phone here as well. I'm not sure if she's unable to unmute herself, but we will take the information that you're providing us with today and create a communications plan out of this to make sure we're addressing what your concerns are and what your needs are. So flyers, definitely. We may be able to get something in the news, Aurora, water bill inserts prior to the March public hearing if we can get something in the next day or two. So we can certainly get that in as well. And as far as Councilmember Medina's suggestion on the translation into Spanish, we can certainly have the flyer translated into Spanish. I would ask if the public hearings are going to have a Spanish language accessibility, though, if we are making those materials available in another language.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should definitely have at least Spanish language accessibility and maybe have some conversation about other folks, right? Like we have a lot of folks that really primarily or only speak Korean, Amharic, like, so I don't know, right? How do we decide which languages, I think, is the only issue we have if we start saying we're going to do language access in all kinds of languages. So that, I guess, is a staff question logistically. How reasonable is it to have multiple languages translated?
So we can get with Minsu and Ricardo, and they're the ones who coordinate with the translators. We can probably definitely get a Spanish translator. We don't have Burmese, I believe. They have been bringing their own interpreter. So people often will do that, but we can definitely put it like we do on the council meeting agenda packet, that if they need translation, they can reach out in advance and request it. Because we would kind of need advance notice to know exactly which language we need. So we could have Spanish translation there already. And then I'll follow up with you guys on what else we can provide.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So any other thoughts on the communication plan? I do just want to make sure we add libraries to the flyer location, because I do think that's a place that a lot of people connect with the city. All right. Any other thoughts on this?
Nope, I think that's good.
Outreach? Okay. Any other thoughts in general, or Katie, is there any other information you need from us?
No, I think we have the dates that you want to do public hearings, the dates that you're going to meet. So after the public hearings, you're going to provide all of this information to the Citizens Ad Hoc Committee for review, right?
Right, and we will review the information at the Council Ad Hoc Committee and make recommendations to move items forward to the ballot.
Okay. And the only other thing I have is I did send out an email to council regarding the appointees for this. I believe so far I checked this morning and we only had one application received. So we do need, and I can send out a follow-up email to council as a reminder. So instead of council having to do it through study session or at the council meeting like they do with CABC, all you need to do is have your appointee fill out an application and return it to us.
Okay. So yes, let's follow up. I know I need to still follow up with you on
Me
that.
too.
But maybe just send out one more email to council reminding folks to get those names and indicate that we're hoping that the committee can begin meeting.
Councilmember Coombs, can I just ask a question on that? And I don't have your ordinance in front of me or the resolution in front of me. Was it a resolution or ordinance? I think it was an ordinance, correct, for this commission?
I think it was a resolution because it's ad hoc, it's not
Okay.
ongoing.
Okay, so if you do get council members who don't want to get an appointee, you know, for whatever reason, can you open it up a little bit for others, maybe?
We didn't address that,
Just
so
saying
I
there
would
might
have
be
to
some
ask.
council members that may not even, they may not do it.
So from the city attorney, how would we handle that to make sure that we don't have a
If that's the
committee
case.
that, for example, has an even number?
Yeah.
So for the task force, we'll look at the resolution. I need to go back and look at the resolution and get the exact language. Because right now, I think it reads that each of you appoint someone. So you somebody could be without an appointee, but we'll try and answer this question and get you a response back.
Okay, the reason I bring it up, I'm not saying it may, but it could.
Right. You don't know that it's going to, but that's a possibility that people may not respond.
Right. And so if that's the case, we're playing the waiting game and they may do it for whatever reason, you know, I don't know, but I'm just saying we might want to have that question answered just to see if we could open it up if we need a certain number.
And I might be able to throw it on a study session. So if I'm not getting the applications, maybe March 7th study session at the end, I can just put it on the agenda and have council members verbally tell me who they want to appoint. And then we can go from there.
Okay, yeah, if we don't have enough folks by then, either say who they want to appoint, or maybe they can say someone else. I'll defer to someone else to appoint at that point, if they don't want to for some reason. So, okay, I think that sounds good. Any concerns or questions from other council members on that? Okay. Anything else on this item? Okay. Then we'll move on to miscellaneous items. My miscellaneous item was the Citizen Ad Hoc Committee, which we reviewed already, kind of how we want to move forward with that. So no need to address that. Although I guess the other thing is just agenda items for our next meeting on March 7th. So I would like to work with the city attorney on a proposal regarding gendered language in the charter and making sure that the language is gender neutral within the charter. Are there any other items that folks would like to have on the agenda for the next meeting?
No.
Okay. I guess an update on the Citizen Ad Hoc Committee, because we will have had that discussion the night before at our study session.
Councilmember Coombs.
Yes, Councilmember Marcano.
Thank you. Just as a tie-in to your charter-focused language review, Dan, do you have an update as to where we are with the with our city code effort?
And that's a good question. Katie was going to reach out to our codifier. So Katie, can you give us a status?
Yep, actually, I'm going to throw it back in your court. Sorry, Dan, but I need some additional information as to what parts of the code we can change and what parts we can't change. Because I know during our discussion with Councilmember Marcano, you guys were talking about there were certain areas in like the criminal code that had to stay specific to gender. So I kind of need a more narrowed down aspect of what we can and can't do.
So we will get you a reply. Obviously, the other section that could be a little bit more troublesome is the UDO, because there's an extra step of having to go to planning commission on that. But we will get you we'll get Katie a response and give you an update.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other miscellaneous items for consideration or items for the agenda for next meeting? Okay. So then our next meeting, I think, should be at 2 o'clock on March 7th, right? We're not in a leap year. We are not. So 2 p.m. on March 7th. Does that work for everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Works for me.
Okay. Excellent. We will go ahead and plan to have the meeting then. And that's all I have. So thank you all so much for your time and look forward to continuing this process with you, and we'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Have a good week. We're adjourned.
Thanks.